This video is sponsored by Professional Photographers of America. More on that later.
Hey, what you making?
Oh, this? It's just a Fuji flavored dish.
I'm kind of on a Nikon only diet right now. Is there like something else you can make?
All right, that's fine. I'll just look up a tutorial if that works. Here's one. Let's try this guy. Are you sick and tired of having the same old foods every day, but all you got in the house is Fuji flavors? Well, fear not, because today we're making a really special dish, Nikon Nachos. Step 1, use a tweezers to pluck out the high-end video features of your Fuji X-T4. Step 2, carefully remove the JPEG film simulations from your Fuji camera to avoid any Fuji juice from spilling into these nachos.
Oh, there's an ad coming up.
Yeah, I don't pay for premium.
No, you should.
I don't. You ever find yourself watching a cooking tutorial within a camera review and think to yourself, I'm offended right now? Well, that's where I come in, to warn you about the dangers of camera reviewers with a sense of humor. Click away now and come to my channel, where all my camera reviews are devoid of humor and fun. I'm sorry, I'm getting flustered, but once again, click away from this video right now if you don't like having fun, if you don't like having a good... I'm gonna check that guy's channel out later.
Yeah.
After you've added some decent autofocus, cook for 20 minutes and then enjoy your Nikon Nachos. The Nikon Z FC is, wait for it, a good camera. I know, I'm saying it here first. I don't think anybody else has said that. And if the title of this video triggered you at all, please hold on. Let me talk for a little bit and then you might understand what I'm saying. So since it's a good camera, why don't we start with the things I like about the camera and then move on to the things I don't like and some other stuff in there as well. Let's get into it a little bit. First thing I like about the ZFC is the retro design. I love how the body of this camera looks. The silver with the contrasted black looks really nice. My favorite part is the top dials, just like the retro film cameras and the Fuji cameras. The dials just look really nice. I love the charcoal black color with the silver rings on the outer edges. It's really cool looking. I'm a big fan of how it looks. And as you guys know already, I am the founder and CEO of Fuji Juice, which authorizes me to talk about retro looking cameras. So this ZFC, it passes my test. Next thing I like is the viewfinder. It's 2.3 million dots, not quite as crazy as the A7S III, which is like 100 billion, I think. And the viewfinder is great. Looking through it to shoot photos and videos is a pleasant experience. It's sharp, it's bright enough for outdoor shooting, and I definitely prefer it over the screen, which isn't great, but the viewfinder's fine. So yeah, there we go. The battery life is freaking bonkers on this camera. So these are the little tiny batteries. I slipped one into the ZFC fully charged, started rolling a 4K 30 clip. It rolled for 30 minutes. I immediately started a second clip because it's got a 30-minute limit. Did that 3 times, so we had an hour and a half of footage and only lost 1 bar of battery. So you probably only need a couple of these guys if you're just casually shooting. The shutter sound is absolutely beautiful. Connor and I took this thing for a little photo walk against the X-T4. Here's the difference in those shutters. Is that goofy?
No, it's important. It's part of the vibe of the camera.
You gotta enjoy the experience of holding it, listening to it, shooting with it, and I really like how the shutter sounds. It's very satisfying. Guess what? The photos and the footage, I'm still holding this battery. Guess what? The photos and the footage look good from this camera. I got more to say about that stuff. This is just kind of a brisk walkthrough in the beginning, but they're looking good. And it's 2021, so if a camera doesn't make decent looking photos and video, what are you doing, man? You know, we have the tech. Lastly, it's very lightweight, which is nice for traveling and scooting around with this thing, but it does kind of suffer in the build quality department a little bit. We'll get into that because this is the things I like, okay? So there you have it. Now we're gonna be super pretentious and talk about the things that I don't like. My first bugaboo with this ZFC is it doesn't have a grip on the body. The body is just kind of a rectangular prism, very similar to the Fuji X-E4, which was a sweet camera, but there's just nothing to grip onto when you're walking around, your hands are getting sweaty from shooting in the summer of Tennessee. you gotta have something to hold on to, or the camera could actually slip out of your camera and crack a lens on the ground. No one wants that. So maybe Nikon, for the next iteration, just add a little lump, a little bump that you can grip onto so we're not dropping stuff, okay? My second bugaboo, the vibration reduction, or stabilization, as Nikon should be calling it, is not good.
God, it's so hard to, the footage is so shaky.
And this kind of multiplies on top of the fact that the camera is super, super light. Usually with a really light camera, you need super good stabilization if you're not gonna rig it out with a cage, heavy lenses, an external battery, a monitor. Adding all those extra things will give you smoother footage because it's heavier. But if you wanna use a lightweight camera like this, it better have good stabilization for video. Otherwise, your footage is gonna look like my footage. I was shooting with the Helios 442, which is about a 90 mil on this camera, and there's just so many micro jitters, and the vibration reduction doesn't really smooth them out all that well. It just kind of adds a little bit of warpiness to the image, and that's no bueno. We don't want that. So let's get that fixed up, Nikon. Maybe a little firmware, maybe just do a recall. And talking about the build quality, the body is just a little bit plasticky. Like, I don't wanna say it's cheap feeling, but it doesn't feel as rugged as something like the Fuji X-T4. And that camera is more expensive than the ZFC, so there's gotta be, you know, a little bit of difference there for sure. But there's just like parts like the battery door that feel like total plastic that could just snap off. And I guess it's fine, you know, it's marketed as a beginner camera, but if you're gonna spend $1,000, you want a little bit of quality in your camera, a little bit of ruggedness that will keep it safe, and I think the ZFC suffers in that area. Next bugaboo, the ZFC doesn't have a log profile for shooting video. And you know, it's kind of marketed as a beginner camera, but there are beginner cameras, specifically the Fuji ones, like the XE4, even the X100V, which is like a pocket point and shoot essentially, and you can shoot in F-Log, in DCI 4K in those cameras, and even though it's internal 8-bit, it's still fun to practice color grading, and it still looks fine in my opinion. If you're throwing it on YouTube, it looks fine. There is a flat color profile in the Nikon for both photo and video, but it would have been cool to see a dedicated Nikon log profile on the ZFC.
Hey guys, Editor Connor here to say that I actually brought the Nikon Z FC home with me and tested out the video a little bit myself, recorded my dogs. And one thing that I kind of discovered is that you can actually make the flat profile flatter if you bring down, say, the contrast and the saturation as well as the sharpness. I'm not necessarily saying it's a great idea or it's a substitute for a log, but it is something that potentially you guys can consider and use in your use if you end up buying this camera. Okay, now back to Zach.
Speaking of picture profiles, the JPEG profiles when shooting photos in this camera are just not up to par with what I'm used to. And I know I'm talking about Fuji a lot, so excuse me if you're annoyed, but Fuji just has like so many cool features in their cameras, and they aren't that expensive. They're not much more expensive. We'll get into that. And it just would be nice to see some really cool Nikon film simulations. Like, I wanna see other camera companies put some awesome JPEG simulations into their cameras like Fuji. Because right now, I feel like Fuji is kicking ass in that department. Like, they are totally running that right now, and it would be cool to see that from Nikon. You do have a couple of basic JPEG options and then a bunch of super corny ones, so I would probably just shoot in RAW with this camera. And my final bugaboo, Nikon,
Is that all your stuff is backwards, and I just found out about it.
I'm sure you guys already know this. I didn't know this because I suck. The lenses screw on to the left. The lens caps to the left. I don't get it. Like, I know it's probably been like that forever, and like all their lenses and mounts are built that way now, but my brain is now screwed up. So when I go to put a lens on my Sony, now I'm undoing it, and it's scary because it could fall off. So personally, I'm pissed. It's not that big a deal. If you're a Nikon shooter, you're probably used to it. It's just a little bugaboo for me, sorry. We got a lot more to talk about, so sit your buns down. We gotta say a huge thank you to our sponsor today, Professional Photographers of America, PPA. And if you're a true homie of this channel, you'll watch this ad. PPA is an awesome resource for photographers like you and me. I'm trying to be a photographer at least.
Crap, mega crap.
Whether you're looking for inspiration, guidance, education, business tips, this is the place to go to learn how to run the entire spectrum of a photo business. And I'm sure a lot of you out there are trying to make a living making photos and videos, and that's why we're talking about this.
It's important.
Personally, I've heard too many stories from my photo friends about them getting screwed out of a payment from a client. Maybe they didn't have a contract ready, they didn't know how to send an invoice, like all these things that really help you run a successful photography business.
I'll give you $200 for all of them.
That seems a little low.
Take them somewhere else then.
PPA has the resources to teach you how to do this stuff so that you can be successful and not run into those big roadblocks. They have resources also that help you protect your rights as an artist, and they have insurance benefits with flat deductibles so you can keep your gear and data safe. We've all heard stories of people getting their gear stolen or their data lost, so let's be smart and check out PPA's insurance. So check out the top link in the description to become a PPA member today, and you'll get $25 off your new membership. And thank you so much for watching this, it means a lot. And thank you to Professional Photographers of America for sponsoring this video and my little photo walk that I did with Connor. I'm very excited. Go watch that video too. So why am I calling this Nikon or Nikon Z FC good but not great? The camera has great autofocus, shoots nice raw photos, good looking footage, it's compact, has amazing battery life, but I do think there are better options for a similar price. Our first contender for you to consider is a used Fuji X-T3. It shoots incredible photos with the beautiful Fuji JPEG simulations. It has high-end video features like internal 10-bit and 4K up to 60 frames per second. It doesn't have IBIS and the battery life isn't amazing, but those things can be worked around with the X-T3. And all of that can come in around the $900 USD range on eBay. Our second contender to consider is the Sony ZV-E10. It's relatively new, it shoots great looking raw photos, it has the Sony E-mount, which is one of my favorite lens mounts because you can go from full frame to APS-C, and it's really convenient. It has great looking footage with pretty decent stabilization, and we are getting one in the studio to test very soon, so stick around for that. And it's only $700 brand new, and has like a lot of the same features as the Nikon Z FC and does some of those features much better. And our third and final contender is the Fuji X-T30. It gives you the amazing photos and the JPEG simulations that all the Fuji cameras have. It does 4K up to 30 frames per second and gives you that F-Log profile to practice color grading. It has the same sensor as the Fuji X-T4, which is freaking beautiful, but there is no stabilization. And you can get the X-T30 for about $800 brand new, and they also just announced the X-T30 Mark II, so check that one out as well, but it's basically the same thing. If I'm being straight up honest with you guys, which I try to be on this channel, I would choose those other three contenders, one of those three, over the Nikon Z FC at this point. But maybe you're a diehard Nikon fan, maybe you just really love the retro look, and you also have Z-mount lenses and you don't want to change. I get it. The Z-mount does seem relatively versatile. Hopefully more and more lenses get made for that mount. And another cool thing is you can mount vintage glass to the Z FC, which I did on my photo walk. I got a little like $12 adapter for my Helios 442, which can cover full frame and APS-C. And it was really affordable to get that vintage lens, which is a nice option. I'm excited that Nikon made a modern mirrorless with a retro coat of paint slapped on the hood. It looks cool and overall it's good, but I do think that the ZFC is slightly undercooked. Make sure to like this video because one like today does equal one Nikon Nacho on the house. Subscribe to be a subscriber and join our Discord below to become an honorary member of the Zachy May fam. Check out the description below for my Instagram, my merch like Fuji Juice hats, and so much more. Text me when you get home so I know you're safe. Thanks for watching. I love you. And I'll see you in the next one.